Good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to my channel, Roaming Retro Gaming and Traveling. We're gonna play Story Battle, and obviously we're playing Tekken 4, one of the classics. Since Tekken 8 is coming out, why not play one of the classics? Gonna play as my favorite character is King in the Tekken series, but I'm gonna play as Christie Monteiro because she's also one of my favorite characters. So Tekken 4 was released in arcades in 2001. It later released on PlayStation 2 the following year. And this game contains 23 characters. As you saw, there was a lot of characters I had to unlock. I don't have my save memory, which sucks, but whatever. It introduced interactive environments, position changes, and the ability to switch between ground game and wall-based combat. New characters include Steve Fox, Craig Marduk, and Christy Monteiro, who I'm playing as right now. Now, the story of me first playing this game, man, I was introduced to this game in like a random arcade in Florida. So what happened was I was really young. I was probably like 10 or probably even 9. I don't remember, probably 2003, 2002, or even like before that. It was my first time playing Tekken actually because I didn't get Tekken 3 until later. But I'll come back to that story. So yeah, this arcade, we were staying at a hotel, right? And the arcade downstairs from the hotel, it had Tekken 4. And I remember just looking at, the cutscenes and stuff like that, and I was like, wow, these graphics are mad good. Like these graphics are beautiful. Because I've never seen something like that because we came from Dreamcast era. I mean, Dreamcast had beautiful graphics, but we came from like Sega Genesis and so on and so forth. Mind you, I'm born in 1994, so I grew up with the Sega era. A lot of times, most of the games that I had, or most of the games that were in my household, were from Sega. Most of the consoles I had were from Sega because my brother was a Sega man. He always liked Sega more than Nintendo, so I never really grew up with Nintendo like that. But back to my story, this game, the first time I got introduced to this game was in the arcade at a hotel in Florida. And man, like that arcade had X-Men, the arcade game, X-Men, the arcade game. It had Time Crisis, and I can't remember what other titles it had, but it had a couple other titles, and it was a beautiful arcade. I loved it. I loved it so much. And I used to go there all the time downstairs because downstairs there was a Pizza Hut. And the Pizza Hut I always used to eat. Back when Pizza Hut was really good, man. Pizza Hut ain't that good anymore, but yeah, me and my family used to eat the Pizza Hut once in a while during the vacation. We was going to Disney World, so that's why we went to Florida. But man, first time I laid my eyes on Tekken 4, man, I think the first character I played as was probably Paul Phoenix and Horang. And I remember just putting quarters at the quarters into this machine, man, because I just wanted to keep playing it. Like I always loved Tekken. I always liked the aesthetics of Tekken, but we never had a PlayStation growing up. Like I said, we were Sega kids. We always had Sega consoles, so Tekken was always on PlayStation. And I didn't get my first Tekken game until like 2004, 2005, because we didn't buy a PlayStation 1 until later. So yeah, like we were just stuck with Dreamcast. We were stuck with like the original Xbox, and we didn't have a PlayStation 2. I don't understand why this girl's blocking every move I do, but whatever. Yeah, we had the Xbox, and man, like, why is she blocking everything? Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. Oh, Jesus, it's frustrating. But yeah, for as far as Xbox didn't have Tekken, so we had Dead or Alive, and my brother loved Dead or Alive. Like, for some reason, like he was against Tekken because he loved Dead or Alive so much. So we never got to play Tekken. The only time we got to play Tekken were in the arcades. That's it. But the only Tekken game that I played in the arcade were Tekken Tag and Tekken this one obviously. Other than that, I didn't never played another Tekken game at the arcades until probably like later down the life when I started getting a little bit older. But as kids, not really. But man, like I loved Dead or Alive, but I also loved Tekken as well. Tekken was always one of my favorite fighting games, and the first Tekken game I brought was back in like 2003. Like I said, 2003, 2004. I brought Tekken 3. Man, oh man, this is back when electronic stores they still sold retro games, which are called retro games now, but back in the days they weren't called retro games. But like they sold like Super Nintendo games, they sold Dreamcast games, and all that other stuff, right? They sold it because at back then it was cheap. These games were cheap because people weren't buying the older games anymore like they were like when the PS2 came out, PlayStation 2, Xbox original, GameCube. When that market came out, nobody was really eyeing on the old retro games anymore. Nobody was eyeing on like uh you know PlayStation 1 games anymore and stuff like that. They wanted to buy the new games. And this is back when games were a little bit cheaper, when retro games were cheaper. So I remember buying Tekken 3 for like probably like $20. They sold it in Best Buy. And man, oh man, oh man. Like I said, like this is one of the first games I've ever bought in my life. Tekken 3 was one of the first games I've ever bought in my life. Man, like I'm literally speechless to even talk about it because I was astounded by like its gameplay and like how it like played, especially on the PS1. Because back in the days, we didn't really care about like, oh, look at the graphics and stuff like that. As long as we had the game, it was just, it meant something to us. You know what I'm saying? It really, really meant something to us. So Tekken 3, the only reason why I brought it was because I saw on the scoreboards that people were giving it 10s, people were giving it 9.9s. GameSpot and everybody else, they give it like really good ratings, and I was like, man, I have to get this game. So that's exactly why I bought Tekken 3. I didn't care if Tekken 4 was out. I didn't care if Tekken 5 was out. The reason why I bought it was because I didn't have a PS2 yet. We didn't buy a PS2 yet until later down the life cycle. Probably in 2005, we got a PlayStation Slim. And yeah, so I had no access to like the later Tekken games. Like at the time, I think this one was out and Tekken Tag. I don't think Tekken 5 was out yet. But yeah, like we didn't have access to like any other Tekken, any other PlayStations and stuff like that. So the only thing I could buy was Tekken 3. But yeah, so Tekken 3 was just it was just so good. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful game. That game belonged in the museum. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to Tekken 3 stories, playing in the arcade or even playing on the PlayStation 1. But man, like I do remember playing that game like crazy. Like I beat it with all the characters, unlocked all the game modes, unlocked Gon. I beat the Tekken Force mode, and it was just fun. It was just super fun. I remember playing my brother a couple times, and this was my kind of like my first introduction to fighting games as well. I mean, not really, but like 3D fighting games, kind of, because like again, we didn't buy like all the other 3D fighting games like Soul Calibur and all that other stuff until later. So when I bought Tekken 3, I was looking at the graphics, I was looking at everything, and I was like, wow. And it still holds up to this day. That's the other thing about Tekken 3. Tekken 3 still holds up to this day. If you play Tekken 3, you can still manage to play the game. It looking like a really nice game. I mean, it's not gonna hold up to the standards of today's like, graphics or whatever, but man, like it was just like for its time back in like 2004. When you're a kid, like you don't really think too much about graphics and stuff like that or anything else. You just look at the game and you enjoy it. Not like this generation where you're so astounded by graphics. People are so like stuck up on like, oh, this game looks ugly, this game this and that, blah blah blah. So yeah, like I was just so like astounded by graphics and stuff like. I mean, not graphics. I was just so astounded by gameplay back then that I didn't care how Tekken 3 looked or whatever. But man, Tekken 3 was always one of my favorite games of all time. It's literally my favorite game of all time. One of my favorite games of all time. One of my favorite fighting games of all time. And I have such a connection to it because of the fact that I it was one of my first games I ever bought. Like I've never bought a game before until I bought Tekken 3. And at the time, we couldn't buy rated M games. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people from born in the 90s. We couldn't buy rated M games. Mind you, I was a kid, so I couldn't buy rated M games. And like, we only had so much access to a lot of games, especially fighting games. Because back then, my mom, she didn't want fighting games in the house. So we only brought a vast variety of fighting games because she thought that us playing fighting games would make us violent, and like it would like it would just like make us fight and stuff like that because it's very competitive. You know what I'm saying? Super competitive. So yeah, like it just my mom didn't want it in the house. So we couldn't like I had to secretly buy Tekken 3, and yeah, I did it. But then later during the life cycle, we eventually got a PlayStation 2. We eventually got a X whatever. We eventually got like all the other consoles and stuff like that. And then I bought Tekken 5, which I'm gonna play later down the line on this channel. I bought Tekken 5, and Tekken 5 is also one of my favorite fighting games. I'm telling you, man, Tekken, I just have such a big connection to it, just because it's like as a kid, man, like this is one of the fighting games that was just out, and it was just like you could connect with a lot of characters and stuff like that. Like just playing, oh, like I played this character, and just you fighting your brothers and stuff like that. Like it was just like, come on, man, like you know. I hope that people can connect to me when I'm talking about this stuff. Like this is what I want from this channel. I want people to connect. But yeah, so now we're on stage 8. We're on the final stage. The boss is Heihachi Mishima. So I'm just gonna make a quick story about something that happened with me in Japan and a Tekken story. So there's this arcade in Akihabara. It's pretty hidden. It's literally super hidden. Like it's not super hidden, but like when you walk around, you're gonna miss it because there's a back entrance to it, and the back entrance has the arcades. But you wouldn't know that there's a whole fighting game floor on the third floor. So there's also a front entrance, but the front entrance is just like it doesn't say that it's Hey Taito. Like it doesn't say that it's the arcade. So when you go inside, you don't notice that it's an arcade. You have to go upstairs. You have to take the escalators upstairs. But downstairs, there's a manga store. There's a manga store. There's a manga store. There's an anime shop, and obviously it sells its dojins and all that other stuff. So yeah, I just remember going up to the third floor with all the fighting games, and man, like you got a lot of challenging people out there. You got a lot of competitors and stuff like that who play Tekken very heavy. There was a Tekken tag machine, and when I was playing the Tekken tag machine, like it just brought me back the nostalgic from like back in the PS2 days when I used to play Tekken and stuff like that. And to actually play in a Japanese arcade, it just felt so special. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like man, me and the person that I met during the trip, we was playing Tekken Tag like nonstop. Like we was playing Tekken, like putting 100 yen, like 100 yen after a while and stuff like that. Because you can put like you can put your card, your transportation card, into the machine as well. But you can also put 100 yen, But I didn't want to keep spending 1,000, putting 1,000 yen into the machine, and taking it out as quarters. So I kept using my card, my transportation card. I forgot the name of it, but I kept using my transportation card. And like man, like I'm telling you, like that arcade, I spent so much time in there. Like I spent a lot of time in that arcade, like just goofing around, playing King of Fighters 2002, playing Tekken, playing Tekken 7, Tekken Tag. That was one of the only arcades I saw where they had a classic Tekken machine. All the other ones they didn't have a classic Tekken machine. So yeah, I mean, other arcades they had Tekken 7, but they didn't have like I said classic Tekken arcade machines. But spent so much quarters on that, and I remember one guy just watching us play or watching me play. I think he was watching me play, and I was playing as King. And I'm not really good at Tekken, as you can tell from my gameplay. I'm not really that good. So when I was playing Tekken, sorry, like I don't know what it is, but like for some reason it skips the cutscenes, so it sucks. But I remember this one of the Japanese guys. He came up to me and like he kept trying to tell me what to do with King, and he's like trying to teach me what to do. He's like telling me to go, like he doesn't speak English, mind you. He doesn't really speak good English, so he would go like rah rah right rah right right love like like speaking broken English. But you know, after a while, I started to understand what like I started to understand like the things that he taught me, because he was like literally teaching me, like he literally like just told me what to do. He just told me what to do. Like, oh, move this way, press this button, press that button. I don't know. Like, he just had his hand like on the arcade stick machine, and I would just move back, and he would have his hand on the arcade stick machine. Sorry, he would have his hand on the arcade stick machine and then show me what to do. And then like he'd be like, look. He's like, look, like, and then doom, and then like this and that. And I try to, I try to interpret it the same way that he was teaching me, but it was hard. But I'm very grateful for the fact that he as a foreigner, that even if he didn't understand that much English, he actually was able to kind of like show me around or whatever, show me the ways of Tekken and stuff like that. But yeah, like that's all. That's my playthrough of Tekken 4. Like my last video, I did a video of Virtua Fighter 4. I might play that again, probably the Evolution version, and then I might play Tekken 5. So if you enjoy this content, I'm gonna post more traveling stuff. So if you enjoy this content and you like watching videos on the CRT TV, let me know. If you like watching me play PS2 games, if you have any requests for me to play any PS2 games, let me know. And subscribe, like my videos, and yeah, I'll go on to the next video. Thank you for watching.